There we go.
Really?
Made it. Listen, it wouldn't be alive with me if Instagram wasn't doing something wrong.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what you've done to anger the Instagram gods. Let me just move this up a little bit. I'm very impressed, by the way, that you realized that the drink I was holding was kombucha.
Of course. It's only fitting.
Can you guess what the flavor is?
It's looking lemony gingery.
It's actually mango, pear, and all sorts of tropical juice.
That sounds good.
It is. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Why don't you catch us up with everything that you've been doing since we last chatted, because it looks like an awful lot.
I realize I just don't do well if I sit still for too long. I get very lazy and very content. That's the word I'm looking for here. So let's see. Last time since we spoke, we've been coaching more. I have a lot of in-person days here in Louisville, but I do virtual as well. Those have been filling up super fast. I'm feeling actually very fortunate and very blessed for that. And then on the makeup and hair side of things, I actually just had my last pageant for the year right before Thanksgiving. So going into slow season now, using that time to revamp, rebuild things up, and looking to go into the more digital space. That's been
Yeah,
exciting. So now the glamour side of things is on Patreon. And tonight drops the first video of the weekly makeup tutorials.
amazing. All right. So Gracie has said the hair when with a lovey eyes emoji. When she's saying that, I'm going to assume that it's yourself, not myself. So Gracie is. Gracie, I thought you couldn't make this time. What are you doing? She's probably working.
Yeah,
Um,
you know, something's a little
but
different.
it it does look. It looks amazing.
Thank you.
Still can't believe you're blonde. For those of you watching, Danielle is a natural blonde. It still blows my mind.
I cut off 18 inches this morning of hair.
Wow. Wow. How do I not notice? I guess I'm a guy. I don't
Well,
notice
because I
it.
normally have it up, honestly.
Okay. Um, Listen, I can't because I'm packing for a trip. Gracie, I don't need excuses. Okay, I don't.
She's going
Uh,
to LA tomorrow.
oh, is that tomorrow? Is it?
I
Wow.
know, crazy, huh?
With little Gracie, with mini Gracie. Although mini Gracie is bigger than big Gracie. Anyway, Grace Gavigan, who is Miss Earth Wales, has said the hair looks incredible.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think this is just going to be a live about how good Danielle's hair looks, which I'm all right with, by the way. But Danielle, you mentioned Patreon. I don't want to assume that everyone knows what Patreon is. So for those of you just tuning in now, Danielle launched on Patreon for her hair and makeup business. Why don't you tell the girls watching and the guys what the Patreon is and how they can get involved?
Absolutely. So Patreon is a really neat app. It's a subscription service. So there's all sorts of different podcasts, and they've been moving into videos now. So I'm there for the video space. We need to be able to see the visuals for the hair and makeup side of things. And my goal with it is to be able to help teach people to do their own makeup. Of course, we want like an everyday look, we want a natural look, but also thinking about the pageant girls because, a lot of times at these pageants, you can't have hair and makeup where they don't have a team that you necessarily want to work with. And even thinking so too about my journey growing up, I did not see pageant hair and makeup artists like I do now at all these different pageants. But then also my family was just a lower income family. So being able to afford a luxury like professional hair and makeup for a pageant was just not something that was on the table. So in thinking about that and what, true luxury it is, I want to help more women be able to, and of course male competitors too, feel their best selves as they step on and off the stage. And a lot of times that starts with the hair and makeup, but confident enough that, if you're at a pageant and you can't have hair and makeup, didn't have anybody there, couldn't travel somebody out, you can take care of it yourself. Or if you're somebody who just can't afford a luxury such as having hair and makeup, you can surely enough knock it out yourself and kill it.
How often, I mean, I'm completely oblivious to the hair and makeup side of things going on behind the scenes. How often is it that the pageant would provide hair and makeup services? And, do you have to pay extra for those, or are they included? I'm going to imagine they're not included, you have to contract them. Or is it a case that you bring like your own hair and makeup team or your own hair and makeup artist such as yourself? How does that work behind the scenes?
It kind of depends on the pageant. Scenes more so on like the international scale where hair and makeup is provided. For me at Miss Earth, my year in Vietnam, we had it provided for our photo shoot, for the swimsuits and the gowns, for our preliminary competition, and then of course for our finals competition. And then I want to say I've heard to some other pageants, especially those that happen internationally in Vietnam, they have it provided for the girls. Now, here in the States, it's normally an add-on. I've yet to find a pageant here who provides it
Right.
for all the contestants. So normally for me as I would essentially be a vendor. So I can come to the pageant, sign on as a vendor. So it helps me market to the girls so they know who's there, kind of who their options are. There's typically like a designated hair and makeup room where we all hang out. I've been real known to hide out though if the pageant's in a hotel room. Kind of a way. I like being able to have like a nice, safe Zen place for my girls when they come in so they can just unwind. We just kind of have like our girl time. I'll,
Yeah.
typically stay with another artist too. So it's a small crowd in there. It's nothing too crazy. So we can control the energy for the day and make sure everybody's getting the attention that they need. But then, let's see, sometimes too, pageants don't actually have the vendor space. So the hotel option is always a nice option with that too. But, it's normally just kind of up to the girls to decide like if they want it. I've, had clients that have asked me to travel exclusively to pageants with them, and they'll travel me out. Or my goal always is to be able to help as many people. It is a luxury, but to still make it more affordable. There was a big catastrophe of, we'll leave it nameless, a big national pageant here, and what the hair and makeup teams were charging for 1 week was astronomical. But it makes sense. I understand flights are expensive, hotels are expensive. You can't, with the time constraints, you can't take a lot of clients to be able to make your money and make it worth your time to go for that. So, it's one thing to look at the stature of the name of the pageant and the potential of where your name's coming out there, but your name can only go so far, but you still have bills to pay.
Yeah.
So,
It's not a it's really not a cheap hobby, is it, pageantry?
no, not at all. And even just to stand on the hair and makeup side, I'm constantly in Ulta and Sephora spending way too much money. But then, to think about myself as a competitor as well, I feel like I'm mentally still recovering
looks like
from
you just had
all
that
the money I poured
traumatic.
into it.
You're having a body like traumatic experience when you think about how much you spent.
I am. I actually, funny story. So I just hired a financial advisor the other day because it dawned on me, hey, you're self-employed. This means you don't have a retirement plan. And in sitting with him, yeah, it's kind of important. I don't want to work until I die. So in sitting with him and going through everything and having to like admit to what I have spent over the last few years out loud. Wow.
That really brought it home. Did you think maybe you should hire a female advisor so that they would be more understanding, perhaps?
Can't say the thought crossed my mind. Originally, when I reached out to him, it was over a retirement plan. I didn't expect us, to dig into the past stuff and think about former decisions I've made. But, I look back at it now and there's a lot of gratitude because everything, happened as it should, got me to where I am. If I could go back and change one thing, that's the one thing.
That's actually something I wanted to dig in with you. And guys, if you're watching, you can ask Danielle any questions. I actually put the live as Coach Danielle because I realize that in America, we like to preface coaches with coach. I never called myself Coach Adrian, but I'm calling you Coach Danielle.
Keep touch. I hadn't thought about the Coach Danielle aspect, but
you're coaching, so I'm bestowing the coach title on you. I'll have to bestow it on Coach Gracie at a different time. Michaela, by the way, jumped on and said, Danielle, the hair looks so good. Again, I feel really, every time someone compliments you, I feel even worse for not noticing it. I mean, I notice it now. Now I can't not notice it, but I'm a typical guy.
I will say, it's normally up, so it's hard to see, but also, with all the black, it kind of blends in.
You don't need to make excuses for me.
Hey, my grandma took her a minute.
Okay, well, maybe I feel a little bit better then. But I wanted to ask you about like business because there are a lot of being a business owner. I think it's really funny you mentioned that you realize there's no retirement. I've never had, all the things that the 9 to 5ers get, like sick days or, long-term, long service leave, retirement, 401ks, I think you guys call it. You don't get any of those as a self-employed person unless you actually take the time to set them up. Have you been a business owner your whole life?
Just about. My first business was when I was in high school and I started making jewelry. I have a little crafty side to me. So I started making jewelry and it wasn't supposed to be a business. It was kind of just like a fun for me type deal. My mom and I loved making jewelry growing up together, and I just started posting it to Instagram in high school and it kind of took off. People were ready to buy stuff from me. So a business formed and I learned a lot about running a business and having to separate, friendships and payments,
Yeah.
exploratory time, and then also like trying to set a cost for something and not necessarily price gouge it, but make sure I could at least repurchase my supplies,
Yeah, of
have
course.
enough to purchase that bare minimum, but then still, at the end of the day, have income outside of it. So it was a very short-lived time period in my life. I was cheering at the time, and my cheer schedule was actually very intense. We practiced 6 days a week and went to every football, basketball game, home and away.
Wow.
So it consumed my life. And then after high school, in college, I got started in a direct sales platform, which essentially people like to argue it. I will say it is very much a self-employment type thing because I had to set my own hours and dedicate my
Yeah.
own time to it each and every day. I look back and it was a learning experience for sure. Not my lane now, but it taught me a lot about what I know. And that's actually where I learned so much about mindset and where that
Mm.
comes into the pageant journey. And then, did the college thing, have the degree I don't really use. I mean,
That makes two of us.
so my degree is in public relations. I originally wanted to be a news anchor. So a lot of that ties into what I do today. So I learned the ins and outs of being in front of and behind the camera, which I love. My best friend and I growing up made music videos for YouTube on Windows Movie Maker. So
Wow.
editing videos,
That's
yeah,
going
editing videos is
back.
something I've always really loved. Yeah, that takes you back, huh? We're not gonna talk about the YouTube channel. It needs to die. I need to find a username and password for that somewhere and send it out. But that's okay. That's okay. At least I don't really look the same, so can't put my name to it. But anyway, from being in direct sales though, and kind of realizing I didn't have to follow like a perfect plan in this life. I didn't have to go to college and get the 9 to 5 to be successful and to see like the actual success stories from other people. Realized I will still finish out my degree. I'm too far into quit.
Yeah.
And I had a very good like tuition deal with it too. But then after college, I thought it was sales, realized I didn't love the sales, so then
Mm.
had to explore this whole new world of finding what it was exactly that I wanted to do. And long story short, hair and makeup has been the one thing that I can come in on a bad day when I'm in a bad mood and it flips my whole day around. My brain shuts off and I can just get so into the zone. I think it really brings out that craftiness aspect I had growing up. I did like to paint and draw too, but I think we've talked about before, I would paint and draw cats as a
Mm.
child, and now I just get faces.
So it's been a bit of a journey from the sounds of it, which is pretty typical for an entrepreneur trying to find your own lane, and that lane will probably evolve over time. I mean, you mentioned,
Absolutely.
going down more the digital route, which I think for anyone watching who is intending to be an entrepreneur or is an entrepreneur now, I think they talk about, trading your time for money, which is probably the worst model because your time is the one thing that you can't get back. So finding some way of scaling that and with pay. So just dig into the Patreon more. So if people want to have a look at the Patreon, where can they go? And because I think you also mentioned that the first video, I don't want to misquote you. I think you said the first video is dropping. Okay, so it's an exciting time as a business owner. I can certainly appreciate that when you launch something new and you have your first big thing, which you've probably put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into. People don't realize 5 minute video, 10 minute video probably takes a couple of hours at
Yeah.
least. But tell me more. Where's a Patreon? How can people get involved? What can they expect?
So I would recommend the app. I like everything better in an app other than the Instagram app for obvious reasons. But Patreon does have an app, and you can find me on Patreon there. It is under Glamour by Danielle. I believe Patreon also has a website. I'm not super familiar with websites because I do everything from my phone. But if you are a desktop kind of person, then sure enough, come hang out with me there. The link is kind of long. I can tag it in some
Is
things.
it in
That's
your bio?
probably,
Is it in your
yes,
Glamour? Okay,
yes.
all right. So click the
Catch.
link in bio. It's Glamour by Danielle with an E in it, isn't it? For the Instagram handle?
The E has, well, not obviously in the Instagram username, but the E has the,
Cute.
yeah, over the top of it because, fun fact, the E in my middle name does too.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's just there for the aesthetics. It's not there for the sound.
That's so on point for you. So what's the video that's dropping tonight? Are you allowed to say,
Oh,
or is
of
it spoilers?
course. Let's see. I'm going to post like a little teaser on the actual Glamour by Danielle Instagram, but it's all about snatching the face. And it's the two things I do to really get like a nice snatched, lifted face.
Is that like to draw the cheeks in a little bit? Is that like contouring?
Yes. Yeah, a little bit of contouring, but also there's a math lesson in it. This is my favorite part. I nearly failed high school geometry. I don't know if it was me or the teacher. I would like to have another hand at it to see who it was. But I use it all the time in makeup, and I tell people to when I do my one-on-one lessons. This is where that high school geometry is going to come in, and we're going to talk about those parallel lines and the angles.
Oh
But
wow.
it's all about the cohesion of it and kind of like the science behind why things go the way they go. And when you put things in the right place, you can really elevate your makeup to go from okay, you did your makeup to okay, who did your makeup?
Oh, okay. That's interesting. As a former math major, that in university, which I've never used, that actually sounds like it could be a practical application of my math skills. I like the idea of snatching. I feel like I could use some snatching here, but I've never.
Oh,
I'll
please.
have to. Do you think it's something that I could take on and actually learn maybe a few tips?
I mean, if you are gonna wear makeup, I would say go for it.
Okay.
But you don't strike me as somebody who wears makeup. I don't think I've ever
I have a
seen you in makeup, I should say.
well, I do have a good friend over here who recently just got married, and she's crazy about makeup. And I was asking her, I went to a big makeup store here. I think it was Mecca, and got a whole bunch of stuff. I got the brush and these little samples. Well, I never used it because I didn't know what I was doing. So it's all foreign to me. But just to switch topics for a sec, and for those of you watching, I know we haven't really talked about the mock interview session that is coming up, but I mean, I plastered it all over my socials. If you haven't seen it, just look at my socials. It's coming up on the 12th of December. We've only got 6 spots. We do have more applicants currently than we do have spots, but have a look. It's onlinepageantacademy.com, and we're cutting off applications this Friday at 5 p.m. And then we'll take the weekend to choose who we're going to work with and announce the winner as well on Monday. So we've got that coming up. But Danielle, can I just ask, because it's coming to sort of the end of pageant season, there seems to be, well, at least internationally, right? There's a lot of international pageants that are winding up, such as Miss Earth, etc. And I've always been curious. I never got a chance to ask someone who's come back from a big international pageant, what's it like when you come back to normal life? Like, I feel like there almost needs to be like a support network, or I don't know, some sort of recovering network, because it seems like you've gone to this point where you have so many people watching you, you're networking with all these amazing women, and then you come back and you got to fit back into normal life. Like, how did you find that journey?
So mine was also a very interesting time because I came back 2 days before Christmas, and then 2 days after Christmas flew from Kentucky to Florida to hand down the crown. So it wasn't just like, coming back to normal life. It was like for good.
Yeah,
You were done. Like
yeah.
I mean, literally, I came back and everything was game over for me at that point. I think in part, one thing I noticed, and it would depend on what country you're coming from on an international aspect, was just a new sense of gratitude for everything I have here in the States and for, the life I live. Somebody close to me had just bought in a car and was telling me like, oh, for a couple grand more, I could get this bell and whistle and da da da, this, that, and the other, which, yeah, you have money for it, go for it. That's incredible. But thinking about like being in Vietnam and everybody has a moped or they walk
Mm.
places and cars saw traffic, but the average person was not somebody who owned a car. It just, really put a lot into my mind to see how fortunate we are here in the States. Of course, to be there for 4 weeks in Vietnam, I picked up different parts of the language. Not great by any means. Vietnamese is very hard to learn. But, thinking about working with our handlers and the few things I could say to them in Vietnamese that then try to translate into everyday life just because you'd been there for so long
Yeah.
was also interesting to see. I had a love-hate relationship with the fact that it was holiday time. I was so tired at Christmas. It made it really hard for me to enjoy that time with my family, and it was such a quick turnaround
Yeah.
as well because I had to hand down the national crown, which when Miss Earth USA picked their national dates, we did not have Miss Earth dates. I know that's not something they would have intentionally, I will say, like, they wouldn't have intentionally done that. So that was miserable. I won't even lie there. But to be completely free, I mean, like, I don't have to think about what I'm going to eat today because I don't have to worry about a surprise photo shoot popping up or needing random social media content for a sponsor. I'm not, essentially worried about competing. I kind of have a free life. There was like a sense of craziness with it, being able to just like, oh, okay, I don't have to worry about, if somebody gonna look at a social media post the wrong way, or do I have to like sit here and overthink it? The overthinking for me on the social media post was very, very
Mm.
intense. I looked at everything probably with like 3 people before I'd post it, and it wouldn't even be anything crazy.
Yeah.
Definitely nothing like I would post now, but just to make sure that nobody's going to take something I'm saying out of context or try to spin it or twist it, making sure that it all looked spot on and in alignment with what I was trying to do and what my goals were there. But it was definitely an adjustment period. That's where the love side of the holiday season comes in because I was at least off work, so I did have that time to lay on my couch with my cats. It's my favorite place to lay with them. And it also really stunk because I had been off work for 5 weeks and then I'm coming back into my slow season and had spent, all this money to compete internationally and then had to save all this money to pay my bills while I'm gone and then come back and not be working and still have bills to pay. It was an adjustment, but that's where pre-planning comes into place.
Yeah. Did you lay? Obviously, we discussed before how hard you worked. Was part of the planning like planning what you were going to do when you came back, or were you so busy planning for the international competition that you didn't have time to think about what would happen afterwards?
A little bit of both. I'd say more so I was so focused on the international competition, I didn't have time to worry about it. So we found out about like 2 months before I left what my arrival dates would be. And then also found out our finals gown had to be a very specific color and it caused a lot of hiccups within like our gown sponsors for what I was supposed to do. So it felt like
Right.
madness and chaos trying to pull everything together in 2 months. Um, but I also am somebody who it's mindset. I went into it thinking about the next year as being Miss Earth. That was my goal, was to win the
Mm.
competition. So I wasn't going to try to mentally sell myself short or give myself an out of it and think about, okay, well, like let's be logistically here. What if you don't win? Because you've only got a one
One
in,
in
I think
90
it's
something,
86, Mike.
80,
Yeah,
90.
literally.
Yeah.
Chance. So like obviously odds are against you. What's the logistic? I would spend my time thinking about that. So that was kind of nice to get to come home and decide, okay, now what do I want to do? Do I want to compete again? Do I need a break? Am I over pageants? So it was nice to have the free reign, but also then just think about, getting back to what I want to do, spending time with my friends
Yeah.
and my family. They had all taken, wow, such a beating on time with them. I definitely put them on the back burner, I should say, trying to just soak in every moment, take in every opportunity because, you do only have essentially 365 days of it. But fortunately, they were understanding.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that does help, doesn't it, when they're supportive of your dreams? I mean, you've been back now roughly 365 days, I guess, because it's coming up to the end of 2024. I mean, that's crazy. Has the itch to compete returned at all? Does it come and go? Is it completely gone? I say whenever a pageant girl says I'm not competing again, I don't trust any of you because I've too many times said I'm not competing again, and I turn around like, oh, I'm so excited to announce this. So has the itch returned at all for yourself, or is it gone?
Occasionally I get a scratch for it. I see it a lot when I'm coaching and in working on like the walking patterns and the technique with girls. I feel something kind of come alive inside. It's like, you should do this again. But I also look back at how much I put into it, and I, I,
It's a
I
lot.
think I do. Yeah, it's a lot. And I enjoy just focusing on like essentially the long term of things.
Yeah.
To come through it too, I had a huge environmental goal with it. So that was kind of my point in it. But to now come out of it and say, okay, this wasn't the key to the door I needed, but also what I think people are scared to admit is that you don't need pageants to make your goals happen. You can make it happen for yourself. So being able to stop and kind of say, all right, now what do I need to do to still make these big crazy dreams that I have
Yeah.
happen outside of the crown now? Yeah, I get this itch every now and then. I first came home and was like, give me a couple weeks to kind of chill and rest. I'm already so close to being in a competition body, as I like to call it. I'll pick back up. We can go hard. I thought about Kentucky USA, but USA has just had so much drama. I don't want my name anywhere near it.
That
I will be honest.
Yeah, if I keep my nose out of pageant drama, if I've heard about it, you can bet it's a very big piece of drama. Can I just ask, coaching for you, what was it like? I don't know if you did coaching like, I mean, in terms of you coaching other girls, what's it like when you are sort of on the other side of the lens and you're working with these women who, the big hopes, the big dreams, and you're there to be a part of it? It's a different journey, I got to imagine, to being a title holder, and you got to focus, I guess, somewhat selfishly on yourself, and that's the way it should be. Anyone who's competing in anything, they got a tunnel vision in when it's competition time. But now I guess you're looking at it from another point of view where you're maybe seeing some of the women, I don't know, maybe having some of the same fears that you did, if you had any fears, or maybe even making some of the same mistakes that you did. What's it like being on the other side?
I've noticed that there's a tiptoe in the air. You never know how much you should tell somebody about thoughts and struggles you have as a title holder. You never want it to come across as that you can't handle the job.
Yeah.
The job can be a lot. The job can definitely be a lot. I actually, so Miss Earth USA had a partnership with a BetterHelp therapy organization. And so, like, my therapist and I, that was our conversation last year. Like, how do I still take care of me and still do the job I need to do? Think there's, a fear in admitting it, but you also don't want to say something to the wrong person and something kind of get out. So this has been the nice thing for me with coaching, is being able to share with them some mental battles I had, some struggles I had, the journey I've had throughout pageantry, because hey, I was that girl at 18 who said she was done with pageants, and we're now here almost 10 years later. It's a cult. You're never out of it. So also that's my coaching advice too. Take that off your bio sheet, because everybody says it. Everybody says, well, I was done with pageants until no, everybody says it. We're done with it. So anyway, it is nice though to be able to have that relatable, vulnerable piece with them, and just have that moment to open that door and give them a safe space to express their concerns, but also to chat with them about their pageant goals, because I think sometimes people come into pageants and think, they're going to have this director who's going to hold their hand and really help them book these different appearances and different community service events. They're going to help them find sponsored wardrobe for the next level, and they come in and it's a dark room. They're all to themselves and they got to figure it out on their own, and they're so disappointed and they're questioning why they are doing what they're doing, why they've invested what they've invested, and not seeing what essentially the title is doing, and it's not what they expected. That's actually now also kind of one of my best advice pieces, is not to think about what's going to come from winning a pageant, but to think about the doors that'll open or the people that you could meet. There's companies and organizations I've met with when I was Miss Earth USA that, now on an influencer side of things, I still get to work with because I built that relationship with them. It was something I wanted. And, you know, sometimes even to have that kind of beside my name makes
Yeah.
people listen a little more,
Yeah.
take a little more interest. So it's not that, you know, they opened a door for me, it's that I used it to open a door for me. And so helping girls make that kind of translation through it. Which, don't get me wrong, there's pageants out there that will hold your hand. They will book
Mm.
you, they have sponsors, and they are fabulous. But they are far and few in between.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of the time it's almost coaching and pageantry is holding, not I was going to say holding someone's hand, but it's just having someone to help, I guess, open your eyes to maybe some of the pitfalls that I know that you're well aware of. And I've spoken to so many pageant contestants, and I never want to sound alarmist about it. And every now and then, when I open my mouth, people will say you're being negative, and I'm not trying to be negative. I'm not a negative person, but I am a very real person, and I'm a very honest person. And specifically, if someone's going to come to me for coaching, and I'm sure it's the same for yourself, you know, they're paying money, their hard-earned money for coaching. I'm not going to lie to them.
Exactly.
Um, but it has been one, if I'm honest, one of the more tricky parts of pageant coaching for me versus life coaching, because life coaching, you say whatever you want. You don't have to worry about it getting back to the wrong people. And every now and then I am a bit, I don't want to say paranoid, but I am mindful, let's say, that there is a network in pageantry and you never know who's connected to whom. And sometimes people like to take things in the wrong way, or maybe are looking to take you down, especially when I started talking about coaching. I'm sure there were a few people, I was watching a few people who aren't so happy and aren't so supportive, but it's a tricky industry to be in, isn't it? And to try and navigate that as a young woman, or even as an older woman, Frank, I don't know that age has much to do with it, but to try and navigate it yourself, that's a tricky proposition.
Absolutely. It's important to have people in your corner that you can rely on. And not even just, you know, somebody that's going to show up to the job, but just somebody that you can just like physically vent to, and
Yeah.
who's, you know, not going to try to say something behind your back, who's just literally going to be somebody who listens, and especially someone who understands. A lot of times, you know, when I would call my mom, she didn't compete in
Yeah.
pageants, and when she was part of, you know, essentially my like competition team growing up, she plays a much different role now than
Mm.
she did at the time. We don't live close. I go to my things on my own and just kind of update her on what's going on at this point
Yeah.
because of how far apart we physically are. But trying to explain to her some of the things and situations and the struggles I was facing, it just, bless her heart, it doesn't relate, and that's okay. But I fortunately do have some pageant friends who have been in similar shoes or been in similar titles that I could say, all right, I'm struggling. Here's this. Let me get it off my chest and move on with the day.
Yeah. I think moving forwards as well, that's the vision for what I would like the three of us to really create. I mean, the three of us, you myself, and Gracie, for those of you who don't know. I think it is not just pageant coaching. I think it is providing not just a safe space, but a transition area where pageant girls can take the skills they've learned, and you just mentioned some of them, take the skills you learned and the partnerships you built and transition that into life beyond the crown, to use a cliche, or out of pageantry, because I completely agree with what you said about you don't need to do pageants very often to get these goals. You know, girls will talk about, I want to start this business, I want to start this nonprofit, I want to do this advocacy, and very often I'll look at it and go, well, why don't you just do that then? Because it would probably be more effective, it would certainly be cheaper. Yet at the same time, I think the thing that pageantry offers is that network. I think I can't, and you tell me what your thoughts are on this, and then we'll close up. But I've not I've not seen any other industry where you can meet such amazing, like-minded, again speaking for the majority, like-minded women who are all hungry to contribute beyond themselves. That to me is unique to pageantry. Has that been your experience by and large?
Yeah, I would say so. What I see from most girls is that they come in looking for the community service
Mm,
opportunity. You know, and I see this more so, I will say too, in Kentucky.
okay.
We're very pageant driven state, but a lot of our pageants here are very service based. We don't see a lot of girls here that are saying like, okay, I want to go to Miss Grand USA, or I want to go to Miss International, or I want to do this, that, and the other. A lot of them are very focused on what it is that's here,
Yeah.
usually we'll see like some Miss America, some Miss USA contestants, and typically they have, some strong contestants there. But the core focus of them are so focused on the community service. And I think because a lot of times too, we look at pageantry and people are asking, what's your platform? And you automatically assume or automatically associate the service to it. And I think some girls are scared to admit that they just want to compete in the pageant for
Mm.
themselves. I see this more so in the MRS division, and in MS division, they're more willing to say, like, hey, I'm a mom, I have a full-time job, I need, a weekend for myself, I need
Yeah,
something that I do
yeah,
for me. But in the younger divisions, it's so service focused, which I love and I admire, and I think that's fabulous. You don't need the pageant to do that. And it's okay to admit that, you know what, hey, I'm here because life's crazy right now and I need to take a day for myself and just put on a pretty dress and feel fabulous. I think that's totally fine too. I actually said that my first year at Miss Kentucky Earth because I was bartending at the time. That was my first Saturday off. And my
yeah.
first time, it was pandemic time. So it was my first time getting to actually socialize with women my age and not the patrons that came into the bar when they got off work, and most of them were men. It was a sports bar. So they just, it's not the same conversations as it is to
It's
be
a
with women your own age who are interested in the same things you're interested in. Of course, the crown was in my mind, but I just really needed a day for me. I had a blast.
yeah. Yeah, I don't think you need to. I don't think you need to have high and mighty goals when you compete in the pageant. I think it's good to know your pageant why, but sometimes your why can just be, hey, I want to have fun. Hey, I want an excuse to, concentrate on me, and that's fine. Don't let anyone else tell you, oh, you need to do this, you need to do this. Everyone has their own goal. I mean, it's funny you just mentioned the bartending. Can I ask you, because I was watching a gin review just yesterday, do you know what a Kentucky hug is?
No, I should though.
Okay, because this person, who I imagine is from Kentucky, and he's his old sort of guy lying back on a sofa, and he was tasting this gin, and he was saying, "Oh, I don't get the old Kentucky hug," and I wasn't sure what a Kentucky hug was, so I thought I'd ask you when you mentioned the bartending. So,
Man,
you've not heard of that?
no,
Okay,
I have not. And I will say we were also a sports bar, so it was a lot of beer on taps.
that's fair enough. All right. Well, guys, if you missed the earlier part, so Coach Danielle, got to get used to calling you Coach Danielle, has her has her Patreon. She's just opened up. She's dropping or dropped your first video course.
Dropping.
Dropping. Okay. So if you want to go over to her Patreon, you can do it on the app. I actually am a desktop person, so I do it on my desktop. But
Knew
head over
somebody.
to Glamour. Is it Glamour by Danielle? It is, isn't it? Glamour
Yes.
by Danielle. Link is in the bio because it's quite a long link. And if you have any hair makeup questions, you want those ongoing tutorials, Danielle is your girl. Danielle is your coach. And obviously, the three of us will be back on 12th of December for our mock interview. I was asking Gracie, because obviously Gracie, in any room she walks in, she's the nice one. So I was imagining that if there's good cop, bad cop, she has to be the good cop. But then
100%.
she but you're not the bad cop, apparently. So I'm just like, which role do you play? If she has to be the
Wow,
nice one,
I
and
thought she
based
was
off
going to
your
throw me under the
question,
bus
I
as a
need,
bad cop.
well, I don't know what I'm going to be, because I thought I would probably have to be the bad cop, the Gordon Ramsay character. So who are you going to be?
Great question. You know what they say, three's a crowd. So
Was it? Well, yeah. I guess we'll work it on out on the 12th of December. But guys, if you want to join us for that mock interview session, and the more I look at it, the more I'm like, this would be amazing. The exact practice that so many of you need. But it'll be Coach Danielle, Coach Gracie, and Coach me, I guess, on Thursday, the 12th of December. Again, if you can't make it live, that's great. You can record your answers, send them in, and we'll respond to it live, and then we'll send you the entire session recording so you can see us giving you our feedback and also the feedback to all the other contestants. Giselle B has also said this hair. All the comments, do you want to just tell the people what drove the haircut? What was the decision process?
so I have grown it out and donated it my whole life. I've been donating my hair since I was 3 years old. And normally I take about 12 inches. My hair grows very fast. I'm very
Nice.
blessed in that aspect. So that's been something I love to do to be able to give back. Also has a nice sustainable beauty feature too, but I'll dig into that on my Instagram posts later. So it actually kind of just hit me that, I'm at about that length that I normally let it go and donate it. And looking at it at the mirror in a mirror the other day, I was on set for a job with my agency, and I thought they was kind of ugly. Like the hair itself was very pretty. Do not get me wrong. But looking at it, it was like it's just not complimenting me anymore. It's just too long. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't hold anything. And I'm really only holding on to it because I want a unique factor with my agency.
Right.
And I have extensions. I don't need all that. It's like, and also don't know why I feel like I need something to give me a unique standout factor, and why Danielle herself can't just be great enough for the unique standout
Exactly.
factor.
Yeah.
So I turned around and I booked an appointment and told maybe like two people. I was not letting anybody talk me out of it. So showed up at 8 a.m. this morning, and I sat down and was like, before I second guess anything, you have to start chopping.
Halfway through, actually, I changed my mind. I used to have super long hair halfway down my back. Have you had that weird moment in the shower yet where you go to like wash your hair and it's like, oh, it's gone?
Well, so I haven't been in the shower. This literally just happened today. Fun fact. This
This is
literally
a
today.
debut. This is a premiere.
This is a debut, yes. And I've spent a lot of my free time FaceTiming people because the reactions have just been so priceless. But a couple times I go to grab it and it, realize like, oh yeah, there's nothing there. But what I am excited for though is probably what it's not going to get stuck in. One of my wonderful, most embarrassing moments is walking out of a gas station, and when I sat down in my car, I realized I had tucked my hair into my pants. It was so long.
That's such queen-like behavior. I, there was
Very Danielle coded.
there was a tennis player who had such long hair. She went to hit a shot, and the hair got tangled in the tennis racket around the strings, and she actually couldn't get the hair unstuck for the rest of the point. But she was so intent on playing it that she was actually trying to hit the ball whilst it was stuck to her ponytail.
No, I'm so tenderheaded. It couldn't be me. It literally like I cannot stand for people to touch my hair because the feeling it just hurts.
Yeah.
Like my hair just has to be left alone. So yeah, I would have lost my mind.
Okay, well, I will say, and I know people say this all the time, I think it looks really good on you.
Thank you.
But I mean it. For those of you, I'm not a huge fan of fringes on girls. So whenever they get a fringe, I just don't comment because I don't like fringes. But for those, I'm sorry, I've offended anyone who's got a fringe, but this looks great on you. It looks like a
Thank you.
new year, new you. We're hitting 2025 strong.
We are. We are.
That's the way. All right. Well, guys, Danielle's Patreon. Head over to Glamour by Danielle if you want to join up. Obviously, she knows her stuff. Crown Mentality for all the pageant coaching. And then the three of us will be back on the 12th of December for the mock interview session. So make sure you get your applications in at onlinepageantacademy.com. We'll close up applications on the 6th. That's the Friday, this coming Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Really excited to work with you guys on that. And yeah, Coach Danielle, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, perfect. Well, we'll speak to you guys later. Have a great day.
Bye, everybody.